Olivia Morgan stared at the thin pink line that had appeared alongside the control line on the pregnancy test. It was the third one she'd taken that morning, all showing the same result. Her hands trembled as she placed it next to the others on the bathroom counter. "Liv, you okay in there?" Nathan's voice came through the bathroom door, tinged with concern. "You've been in there for 20 minutes. Olivia quickly swept the tests into the cabinet under the sink, burying them beneath spare towels. She wasn't ready to tell him yet. Not until she was sure. Not until she figured out how she felt about it. "I'm fine," she called back, splashing cold water on her face before opening the door. Nathan stood there, his dark hair still messy from sleep, worry lines creasing his forehead. At 36, he had a few flecks of gray starting at his temples, which she usually found endearing. After 8 years of marriage, she still found herself admiring his warm brown eyes and the way his smile could light up a room. But today, she couldn't meet his gaze. "Just feeling a little nauseous," she said, which wasn't a lie. "Probably that Thai food from last night." Nathan's hand reached for her forehead, checking for fever with the practiced ease of someone who had nursed her through many illnesses. "You don't feel warm. Want me to call in sick with you today? I could reschedule my morning meetings." "No," she said, perhaps too quickly. "I'll be fine. You have that presentation with the new clients." Nathan was a marketing executive at one of Boston's top firms, his career finally taking off after years of grinding. His latest project, a campaign for a luxury watch brand, could mean a promotion to senior executive, something he'd been working toward since before they'd met. "They can wait if you need me," he said, his gaze searching her face. For a moment, Olivia almost told him. The words were there, ready to spill out. "We're having a baby." But something held her back. Maybe it was the memory of their conversation 3 years ago, when they'd decided to put having children on hold while they focused on their careers. Maybe it was the fear that she'd see panic rather than joy in his eyes. "Go," she insisted, forcing a smile. "I'm just going to take it easy today." Nathan kissed her forehead, his lips lingering for a moment. "I'll check in later. Love you." "Love you too," she replied automatically, watching him walk down the hall of their renovated brownstone apartment. When she heard the front door close, Olivia retrieved the tests from under the sink and sat on the edge of the bathtub, staring at them. She and Nathan hadn't been trying. In fact, they'd been careful. But here she was, 6 weeks pregnant according to the digital test. Olivia was 34, a graphic designer whose freelance business had finally gained traction after years of uncertainty. The timing couldn't be worse. She had just signed contracts with 3 major clients, all demanding projects due within the next 6 months. She placed a hand on her still flat stomach, trying to imagine the life growing inside her. Despite the terrible timing, a strange warmth spread through her chest. They hadn't planned this, but maybe it was time to reconsider their priorities. Olivia decided she would tell Nathan tonight. She'd make his favorite dinner, open a bottle of sparkling cider, and share the news that would change their lives forever. By mid-afternoon, the nausea had evolved into intense cravings. Olivia sat at her desk, attempting to focus on the logo design for an eco-friendly clothing brand. But all she could think about was the lemon tart from Bellini's, an Italian bakery across town. She grabbed her phone and called Nathan. "Hey, everything okay?" he answered, concern evident in his voice. "Everything's fine," she assured him. "Just having an intense craving for Bellini's lemon tart. Any chance you could stop by there on your way home?" "I'd go myself, but I'm in the middle of this design and—" "Say no more," Nathan cut in. "I know exactly the one. I have a late meeting, but I should be home by 7. I'll swing by Bellini's." "You're the best," Olivia said, relief washing over her. "How did the presentation go?" "Knocked it out of the park," Nathan replied, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "Kirkland loved the concept. We're moving forward with the full campaign. That's amazing. We should celebrate tonight." "Definitely. See you at 7 with your lemon tart." Olivia hung up, feeling lighter than she had all day. Tonight would be perfect. They'd celebrate his success, and then she'd tell him about the baby. Maybe the universe had timed this pregnancy perfectly after all. 7 o'clock came and went without any sign of Nathan. Olivia had prepared his favorite lasagna, which now sat cooling on the stove. She'd changed into a navy blue dress that complemented her auburn hair, applied makeup to hide the signs of her morning sickness, and even lit candles on their dining table. At 7:45, she called him, but it went straight to voicemail. She sent a text. "Dinner's getting cold. Everything okay?" By 8:30, worry had replaced irritation. Nathan was rarely late without calling, and never this late. She tried his office, but the call went unanswered. She called his colleague, Marcus. "Hey, Olivia. What's up?" Marcus sounded surprised to hear from her. "Is Nathan still with you?" "He said he had a late meeting." A pause. "No, we wrapped up around 6. He left right after, said he needed to pick something up for you." Oh. Olivia's stomach tightened with anxiety. "Thanks, Marcus." She hung up and tried Nathan's cell again. Still voicemail. She paced the apartment, checking the windows every few minutes, watching for his car to pull into their designated spot on the street below. At 9:17, headlights swept across the living room wall as a car parked outside. Olivia rushed to the window, relief flooding her when she recognized Nathan's black Audi. She watched him step out, carrying a white bakery bag in one hand, his suit jacket draped over his arm. She met him at the door, torn between concern and frustration. "Where have you been?" "I've been calling and texting. I'm so sorry," Nathan said, looking genuinely contrite. "My phone died and there was a massive line at Bellini's." He held up the white bag. "But I got your lemon tart." Something about his explanation didn't sit right with Olivia, but she couldn't place why. She took the bag from him, noticing a smudge of something on his collar as he moved past her into the apartment. "I kept dinner warm," she said, following him to the kitchen where he loosened his tie and poured himself a glass of water. "You must be starving." "Actually, I grabbed a sandwich earlier," Nathan said, not meeting her eyes. "But I could eat a little lasagna." Olivia set the bakery bag on the counter and opened it to retrieve the tart. As she did, a waft of fragrance hit her, a floral, musky scent that she immediately recognized was not the usual smell of Bellini's bakery. It wasn't the scent of butter and sugar and lemon. It was perfume. She froze, the bag still in her hands, as her brain processed what her nose was telling her. The scent was distinctly feminine, expensive, and most definitely not hers. "Liv?" Nathan was watching her, a flicker of unease crossing his face. "Everything okay?" She reached into the bag with numb fingers and pulled out the small white box containing the tart. The smell was stronger on the bag itself, as if someone wearing the perfume had handled it. "Fine," she managed, setting the box down. "Just tired." Nathan came up behind her, his hands resting on her shoulders. "I'm sorry I'm so late." The meeting went long, and then the bakery. "It's okay," she said, shrugging away from his touch. "Let me dish up the lasagna." Throughout dinner, Nathan chatted about his presentation and the new campaign, while Olivia pushed food around her plate, her appetite gone. She studied him as he spoke, looking for clues. The smudge on his collar, the perfume on the bag, the 3-hour gap between leaving work and arriving home. The unanswered calls. "You're quiet tonight," Nathan observed, reaching for his wine glass. "Feeling sick again?" Olivia looked directly into his eyes. "Who is she?" The question hung in the air between them. Nathan's face registered confusion, then shock, then something else, something that made Olivia's heart sink to the pit of her stomach. "What are you talking about?" His voice was steady, but his hand tightened around the wine glass. "The bakery bag," Olivia said, her own voice surprisingly calm. "It smells like perfume." "Expensive perfume." "Not mine." Nathan laughed, but it sounded forced. "That's crazy. It probably just picked up a scent from the bakery counter or something." "And the smudge on your collar?" she asked, pointing to the faint stain. "And why it took you 3 hours to pick up a tart from a bakery 20 minutes away?" "I told you there was a line, and I had to finish some things at the office first." He reached across the table for her hand, but she pulled away. "Liv, what's going on? Why are you suddenly accusing me of—" "What exactly are you accusing me of?" The way he turned it around, making her sound paranoid, ignited something in Olivia. She stood up, walked to the counter, and grabbed the bakery bag. She thrust it toward him. "Smell it," she demanded. "Tell me that's not perfume." Nathan took the bag reluctantly and held it to his nose, his expression carefully neutral. "I don't smell anything unusual." "You're lying," Olivia said, tears threatening to spill over. "You're lying right to my face." Nathan stood up, his chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "This is ridiculous. I'm not going to sit here and be accused of cheating because a bakery bag smells funny to you. Then explain where you were for 3 hours." Olivia's voice rose. "Explain why your phone suddenly died when you've never let that happen before." "Explain why— I don't have to explain anything!" Nathan shouted, his composure cracking. "You're being paranoid and irrational." Olivia stepped back as if she'd been slapped. In 8 years of marriage, Nathan had never raised his voice at her like that. The look on his face, defensive, angry, cornered, told her everything she needed to know. "Get out," she whispered. "I need you to leave right now." Nathan's anger faded, replaced by panic. "Liv, come on. You're overreacting. Let's just talk about this calmly." "I'm not overreacting," she said, her voice steadying. "I'm pregnant." Nathan's face went pale, his eyes widening as they dropped to her stomach, then back to her face. "You're what?" "Pregnant," Olivia repeated, one hand instinctively moving to her abdomen. 6 weeks. I found out this morning. I was going to tell you tonight during our celebration dinner." She laughed bitterly. "Surprise." Nathan sank back into his chair, his expression unreadable. "Are you sure?" 3 positive tests. And all the symptoms. Olivia remained standing, her body rigid with tension. "So yes, I'm sure." The silence that stretched between them was deafening. Finally, Nathan spoke, his voice strained. "Liv, I swear to you there's nothing going on. I wouldn't— not with you pregnant. Not ever." "Stop lying," she said quietly. "It's insulting." Nathan stood again, moving toward her, but Olivia stepped back. "Don't," she warned. "Don't touch me. Please," he pleaded, his hands open in supplication. "Let me explain." "Explain what?" "How the bakery bag got perfume on it. How you lost 3 hours of time. How your phone conveniently died so you couldn't answer my calls." Olivia's voice cracked. "I'm not stupid, Nathan." "It's not what you think," he insisted, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "Yes, I was with someone, but it's not— Get out," Olivia repeated, louder this time. She pointed toward the door. "Get out of our home. I can't even look at you right now." Nathan hesitated, then nodded slowly. "Okay, I'll go to Marcus's for the night. But we need to talk about this, Liv. About the baby. About us. This isn't— I'm not—" He stopped, shook his head. "I'll give you some space, but I'm coming back tomorrow, and we're going to figure this out." He grabbed his phone and keys from the counter, pausing at the door. "I love you, Olivia. Whatever you're thinking right now, that hasn't changed." After he left, Olivia collapsed onto the couch, her body shaking with sobs. One hand remained protectively over her stomach as grief and rage coursed through her. How could he do this? Now of all times? When the initial wave of emotion passed, she sat up, wiping her face. Something Nathan had said replayed in her mind. "Yes, I was with someone, but it's not— Not what? What could possibly explain the perfume, the missing hours, the lies? She picked up her phone and scrolled through their shared calendar, looking at Nathan's schedule for the day. The client meeting had been scheduled from 2 to 4 p.m. According to Marcus, they'd wrapped up around 6 South, which aligned with what would have been a post-meeting debrief. But after that, nothing scheduled. Olivia switched to their location-sharing app, something they'd set up years ago for safety. Nathan's location history showed he'd left his office at 6:12 p.m., but then the tracking stopped, as if he'd turned it off or his phone had indeed died. On impulse, she went to his desk in their home office and opened his laptop. They knew each other's passwords, had never had secrets. She hesitated only briefly before typing in his login. Their wedding date followed by his childhood dog's name. The screen unlocked, revealing his email. Olivia scanned the inbox, looking for anything suspicious. Nothing stood out immediately. She checked his calendar next, which showed the same meetings she already knew about. Then she opened his browser history. There it was. A search from 3 days ago. Tiffany & Co. Boston locations. Her breath caught. Jewelry. Was he buying jewelry for someone else? She dug deeper, checking his bank statements online. A charge from today, $315 at Tiffany & Co. Not a major purchase, but significant. There was also a charge for $85 at Bellini's Bakery, time-stamped at 8:45 p.m., just 30 minutes before he'd arrived home. Olivia leaned back in the chair, her mind racing. He'd been at a jewelry store, not having an affair in some hotel room or apartment. But why? And who was the perfume from? A saleswoman? That didn't explain the 3-hour gap or why he'd lied about it. Unless... She opened their shared photos, scrolling back to pictures from their trip to Cape Cod last summer. There was one of them with another couple, Nathan's colleague Rachel and her husband Daniel. In the photo, Rachel had her arm linked through Olivia's, both of them laughing at something off camera. Rachel had been promoted to creative director 6 months ago, the position Nathan had been hoping for. But instead of resentment, he'd seemed genuinely happy for her. They'd worked closely together on several campaigns since then. With trembling fingers, Olivia found Rachel's profile on social media and scrolled through her recent posts. 3 days ago, Rachel had posted, 10 years with this amazing man. Can't wait to celebrate our anniversary this weekend. Olivia stared at the post, the pieces falling into place. 10 years. An anniversary gift? Nathan helping to pick it out, but that still didn't explain everything. Why the secrecy? Why not just tell her he was helping Rachel select an anniversary gift? Why turn off location sharing? Why lie about the bakery? She kept digging, determined to find answers. In Nathan's email, she found a thread between him and Rachel from earlier that week. Rachel: thanks again for agreeing to help. Daniel has no idea. I'm so bad at keeping secrets. Nathan: happy to help. Tiffany's at 6:30 on Thursday? I know exactly what he likes, Rachel. Perfect. Don't tell Olivia. You know she can't keep a secret either. Remember how she almost ruined my surprise party? Nathan: my lips are sealed. But I might need a solid excuse for being late. Rachel: tell her there was a line at Bellini's. Those lemon tarts are worth waiting for. And I know they're her favorite. Olivia pushed away from the desk. Her emotions a confusing mix of relief and lingering doubt. It made sense. Nathan helping Rachel pick out an anniversary gift for her husband. Keeping it secret because Rachel wanted to surprise Daniel. And because they both knew Olivia might accidentally let it slip. But the perfume on the bag. The smudge on his collar. The way he'd reacted when she confronted him. Defensive and angry, rather than simply explaining. She paced the apartment, replaying the evening's events in her mind. Maybe the perfume had transferred from Rachel to Nathan to the bag. Maybe the smudge was just a coffee stain she'd misinterpreted. Maybe he'd reacted poorly because he was caught in a lie, even if the lie was relatively innocent. Or maybe she was desperately grasping at straws, trying to convince herself that her marriage wasn't falling apart, just as they were about to become parents. Olivia returned to the kitchen, where the bakery bag still sat on the counter. She picked it up, inhaling the scent again. It was definitely perfume. She searched her memory for Rachel's scent from the times they'd met. Was this it? She couldn't be sure. She opened the bakery box expecting to find the lemon tart. Instead, there was a small blue box nestled inside, unmistakably from Tiffany & Co. Heart pounding, Olivia opened it to find a delicate silver bracelet with a tiny heart charm. Attached was a note in Nathan's handwriting. For the mother of my child. I've been saving this for your birthday next month, but I found it today and couldn't wait. I hope our baby has your heart. Love always. And Olivia stared at the bracelet, confusion washing over her. The jewelry hadn't been for Rachel or Daniel or anyone else. It had been for her all along. But that meant the perfume, the missing hours, the lies. With shaking hands, she picked up her phone and dialed Rachel's number. Rachel answered on the third ring, her voice surprised. "Olivia, is everything okay?" "I need to ask you something," Olivia said, struggling to keep her voice steady. "And I need you to tell me the truth." "Of course," Rachel replied, sounding concerned. "What's going on? Were you with Nathan this evening? Shopping for an anniversary gift for Daniel?" A pause. "No," Rachel said slowly. "Daniel and I celebrated our anniversary last weekend." "Why would you think that?" Olivia's knees buckled and she sank onto a kitchen stool. "I found emails between you and Nathan about meeting at Tiffany's, keeping it a secret from me." "Emails?" Rachel sounded genuinely confused. "Olivia, I haven't emailed Nathan about anything personal in months. We've been working on the Kirkland campaign, but that's it." "I saw them," Olivia insisted. "You were asking him to help you pick out an anniversary gift. You told him to use Bellini's as an excuse. That doesn't make any sense. Daniel and I exchanged gifts last Saturday. And I've never been to Bellini's." Rachel's voice sharpened with concern. "Olivia, what's really going on?" Olivia's mind raced. If Rachel was telling the truth, and she had no reason to lie, then Nathan had fabricated the entire exchange. Created fake emails. Planted a deliberate false trail. "I have to go," Olivia said abruptly. "I'm sorry to bother you." "Wait, Olivia." She hung up, her heart pounding in her ears. Nathan hadn't just lied about where he was tonight. He'd created an elaborate deception, anticipating she might check his email, giving himself an alibi that would seem plausible. The bracelet. The note. All part of the cover story, hastily purchased tonight when he realized he was caught. Not something he'd been saving for her birthday. Olivia returned to Nathan's laptop, examining the email exchange more carefully. The timestamps had looked authentic at first glance, but now she noticed the thread had been forwarded from another account, probably a fake one he'd created, into his main inbox, making it appear like a real conversation. She checked his bank statements again. The charge at Tiffany's was real. So was the one at Bellini's. But there was another charge she'd missed. $230 at a restaurant called Maison Rouge, timestamped at 7:15 p.m. Olivia had never heard of Maison Rouge. She searched for it online, an upscale French restaurant downtown. Romantic ambiance, intimate seating. The kind of place you'd take someone special. She pulled up the restaurant's website and clicked on their reservation system. On a hunch, she entered Nathan's email address and the date. The system recognized it immediately. Reservation for Morgan, party of 2:70 p.m. The truth hit her like a physical blow. Nathan hadn't been helping a friend. He'd been having dinner with someone else, someone who wore expensive perfume, someone he'd turned off location sharing for, someone he'd created fake emails to cover up meeting, and when confronted, instead of coming clean, he'd doubled down on the lie, even when she told him she was pregnant. He'd left their home still maintaining the deception, leaving behind a hastily purchased bracelet with a manufactured story. Olivia's phone chimed with a text from Nathan. "I'm staying at Marcus's. Please call me when you're ready to talk. I love you and our baby more than anything. We'll get through this," her hands shaking with rage and grief. Olivia typed back, "Tell me about Maison Rouge. Tell me who you had dinner with at 7:15. 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. "Finally, I can explain everything. No more lies," she replied. "Who is she?" A long pause, then, "Her name is Vanessa. She's a client. It was just dinner." Olivia laughed bitterly through her tears. Even now, he couldn't tell the full truth. A client who wears Chanel No. 5? A client you turn off location sharing for? A client you create fake emails to cover up meeting? "Please," came his response. "Let me come home. Let me explain in person." "There's nothing to explain," Olivia typed. "Don't come home. Don't contact me. I'll have my lawyer reach out to yours." She set down her phone, numb with shock and betrayal. Her hand moved to her stomach, to the tiny life growing inside her, a life that would now enter a world very different from the one Olivia had imagined just hours ago. Her phone rang. Nathan calling. She declined it, then turned off her phone completely. She couldn't bear to hear his voice, to listen to more lies or half-truths or desperate explanations. Instead, Olivia walked to their bedroom and pulled a suitcase from the closet. She wouldn't stay in this apartment tonight, surrounded by reminders of their life together, the future they'd planned. She'd go to her sister's place in Cambridge, regroup, figure out her next steps. As she packed essentials, clothes, toiletries, her laptop, Olivia's gaze fell on their wedding photo on the dresser. She and Nathan beaming at each other, oblivious to the camera, lost in the promise of their future together. She placed the frame face down and continued packing. Emma's apartment was small but cozy, filled with plants and colorful textiles that reflected her sister's bohemian spirit. Olivia sat at the kitchen table, cradling a mug of herbal tea, one of the few things that seemed to settle her churning stomach. "He's called 17 times," Emma said, checking Olivia's phone, which she'd finally turned back on, "and sent about 30 texts. Want me to read them?" Olivia shook her head. "Not yet. Maybe tomorrow." Emma set the phone down and pulled her chair closer to her sister's. At 30, Emma was 4 years younger than Olivia, but in this moment, she seemed like the older sibling, steady, protective, wise. "Have you thought about what you want to do?" she asked gently. "About the baby?" Olivia's hand moved reflexively to her stomach. "I'm keeping it," she said without hesitation. "With or without Nathan?" Emma nodded, unsurprised. "And about Nathan?" That question was more complicated. Olivia stared into her tea, watching the leaves swirl in the amber liquid. "I don't know," she admitted. "Part of me wants to hear what he has to say. The other part can't stand the thought of looking at him right now." "For what it's worth," Emma said carefully, "I've always thought Nathan was one of the good ones. I'm not excusing what he did. It was a massive betrayal of trust. But people make mistakes. Terrible, stupid mistakes." "This wasn't a mistake," Olivia countered. "A mistake is forgetting an anniversary or saying something hurtful in the heat of an argument. This was deliberate, calculated. He created fake emails, Emma. He turned off his location tracking. He made up an entire story about helping Rachel," Emma sighed. "You're right. That's a whole other level. And even when I told him I was pregnant, he kept lying," Olivia continued, her voice breaking. "What kind of person does that?" "A desperate one," Emma suggested. "Someone who knows they've screwed up beyond repair and is terrified of losing everything." Olivia's phone buzzed with another incoming call from Nathan. Emma glanced at it, then at her sister. "Want me to answer?" "Tell him to back off for tonight." After a moment's hesitation, Olivia nodded. Emma picked up the phone and stepped into the living room. Olivia could hear her sister's voice, firm but not unkind, explaining that Olivia needed space, that they'd talk tomorrow, that showing up uninvited would only make things worse. When Emma returned, her expression was troubled. "He's a mess, Liv. Says he hasn't slept, hasn't eaten. Kept saying it's not what you think, that he can explain everything if you'll just talk to him." "Did he explain anything to you?" Olivia asked. Emma shook her head. "Said it's between you two. But he did say something about how appearances can be deceiving and that you're jumping to conclusions." Olivia scoffed. "Classic. Turn it around. Make it my fault for not trusting him, when he's the one who lied to my face repeatedly." "I don't think that's what he meant," Emma said. "But you know him better than I do." That night, Olivia lay awake on Emma's pull-out couch, her mind replaying every moment of her confrontation with Nathan, searching for clues she might have missed, meanings she might have misinterpreted. The perfume on the bag, the smudge on his collar, the fake emails, the dinner at Maison Rouge. It was just dinner, he'd texted. But it wasn't just dinner. It was dinner with a woman whose perfume had transferred to a bakery bag, who had left a mark on his collar, who was important enough for him to create an elaborate cover story, to risk his marriage, to lie even when faced with the news that he was going to be a father. By morning, Olivia had made a decision. She would meet with Nathan, hear what he had to say, but not alone. She asked Emma to be present, Not in the room, but nearby, in case things got ugly or in case she needed support. They agreed to meet at a coffee shop near Emma's apartment, neutral territory. Olivia arrived first, choosing a table in the back corner where they'd have some privacy. She ordered a chamomile tea, her stomach too unsettled for coffee. When Nathan walked in, Olivia almost didn't recognize him. His usual confident posture was gone, replaced by a slumped, defeated bearing. Dark circles shadowed his eyes, and his clothes, the same he'd worn yesterday, were rumpled, as if he'd slept in them. Or hadn't slept at all. He spotted her and froze for a moment, as if gathering courage before approaching her table. "Thank you for meeting me," he said, his voice hoarse. Olivia nodded stiffly, gesturing to the chair across from her. "Sit down." Nathan lowered himself into the chair, his eyes never leaving her face. "How are you feeling? Morning sickness still bad?" "Don't," Olivia said sharply. "Don't pretend this is a normal conversation." Nathan nodded, rubbing a hand over his unshaven jaw. "You're right. I'm sorry." He took a deep breath. "I know you think I'm having an affair. I'm not. I swear to you I'm not." "I found the emails, Nathan," Olivia said coldly. "The fake emails you created to give yourself an alibi. I talked to Rachel. She had no idea what I was talking about." Nathan closed his eyes briefly, pain crossing his features. "I know how bad that looks. It was stupid and wrong, but it's not what you think." "Then what is it?" Olivia challenged. "Explain to me why you created fake emails, why you turned off location sharing, why you had dinner with a woman named Vanessa at a romantic restaurant, why her perfume was on the bakery bag, why there was lipstick on your collar." "Lipstick?" Nathan looked genuinely confused. "There wasn't—" He stopped, understanding dawning. "The smudge. That wasn't lipstick, Liv. It was wine." Vanessa gesticulated while holding her glass and some splashed on me. Olivia raised an eyebrow, unconvinced. "That doesn't explain anything else." Nathan leaned forward, his expression earnest. "Vanessa Clark is a divorce attorney." Of all the things Olivia had expected him to say, this wasn't one of them. "A divorce attorney," she repeated flatly. "And you were meeting with her because—" "Because of Marcus," Nathan said. "He and Jenna are splitting up. It's ugly. She's trying to take everything, including full custody of the kids. Marcus is a mess. You know how much he adores those boys. He asked for my help finding a good lawyer. Vanessa came highly recommended for high-conflict divorces." Olivia frowned, processing this. "Why the secrecy? Why not just tell me you were meeting with a lawyer for Marcus?" Nathan ran a hand through his hair. "Because Marcus asked me not to tell anyone. Not even you. He's embarrassed, devastated. Doesn't want people at work to find out yet. I promised him I'd keep it confidential." "So you created fake emails about helping Rachel shop for an anniversary gift?" Olivia's voice dripped with skepticism. "No," Nathan admitted, looking ashamed. "That was after. When you texted asking where I was, I panicked. I knew you might check my email or my location, and I didn't want to break Marcus's confidence. So I came up with a story I thought would make sense. Something you might check and find plausible. You went to an awful lot of trouble to maintain Marcus's privacy," Olivia observed, still suspicious. "It wasn't just that," Nathan said, his voice dropping. "I was going to tell you everything when I got home. But then I walked in, and you were all dressed up and had made this amazing dinner, and I could tell you had something special planned. I didn't want to ruin it with Marcus's depressing divorce drama." Olivia studied his face, looking for signs of deception. "The bracelet? The note about our baby? How did you know I was pregnant if I hadn't told you yet?" A flicker of surprise crossed Nathan's face. "I didn't know. The note just said, 'For the mother of my child someday.' I've had that bracelet for weeks, Liv. I bought it after that conversation we had about maybe starting to try for a baby next year, remember? I was saving it for your birthday, but after you called about the lemon tart, I thought it would be a nice surprise." "A way to reopen that conversation," Olivia frowned. "The note I saw specifically mentioned our baby, not someday." Nathan shook his head, confusion evident. "That's not what I wrote." "I swear, Liv. And the perfume on the bag? Explain that." Vanessa had the bag in her hands when she was showing me photos of her kids on her phone. She must have transferred the scent. Nathan hesitated. Look, I know how this all looks. I should have just told you the truth from the beginning. But I promised Marcus, and then I made it worse by trying to cover it up. And then when you accused me of cheating, I got defensive instead of explaining. He reached across the table, his hand stopping just short of touching hers. I've never been unfaithful to you, Olivia. Not once in 8 years. I never would be. Especially not now. Not when we're about to have a baby. Olivia pulled her hand back. I need proof, Nathan. I want to believe you, but I need something concrete. Nathan nodded immediately. Of course. He pulled out his phone, scrolled through his contacts, and placed a call on speaker. Marcus, he said when his colleague answered. I'm here with Olivia. I need you to tell her about Vanessa Clark. A pause. You told her? Marcus sounded surprised, then resigned. I guess it had to come out sometime. Hey, Olivia. I'm sorry Nathan got caught in the middle of my mess. So he was meeting with a divorce attorney for you last night? Olivia asked directly. Yeah, Marcus confirmed. Vanessa's supposed to be the best in Boston for custody battles. Nathan's been amazing through this whole thing. Letting me crash at his office when I need to break down, helping me find a lawyer, listening to me rant about Jenna's unreasonable demands. Why the secrecy? Olivia pressed. Marcus sighed heavily. Because I'm not ready for people at work to know. Because I'm ashamed that my marriage failed. Because Jenna's threatening to tell everyone I was abusive if I don't give her what she wants, which is a complete lie. Nathan's the only one I've trusted with the whole ugly truth. Olivia's certainty wavered. Marcus sounded genuine, and the explanation made sense. But there were still loose ends. The fake emails about Rachel, she reminded Nathan after he'd ended the call. A stupid panic move, he admitted. I'm not proud of it. I thought you might check my email and wanted something there that explained my absence without betraying Marcus's confidence. I didn't think you'd actually talk to Rachel? And Bellini's? The timing doesn't add up. You charged $85 there at 8:45 just before coming home. Nathan nodded. I did go to Bellini's, like I said. After meeting with Vanessa and Marcus. They close at 9, so I just made it. The line was long because they were having a 2-for-1 special on their pastry boxes. I bought your lemon tart and a box of mixed pastries for the office tomorrow. It all sounded plausible. More than plausible. It matched the evidence, explained the discrepancies, filled in the gaps. But something still nagged at Olivia. Why did you turn off location sharing? Nathan looked genuinely confused. I didn't. My phone died around 7:30. I had to borrow Marcus's charger at the restaurant. But it was only at about 10% when I left for Bellini's. It probably died again before I got home. Olivia held his gaze, searching for any hint of deception. I need to see your phone. Your text messages, your call history, everything. Without hesitation, Nathan handed over his phone. Whatever you need to see. Olivia spent the next 20 minutes going through his phone. Texts, calls, emails, photos, browser history. There was nothing suspicious. No messages from a Vanessa other than emails about legal consultations in Marcus's case. No unexplained calls. No hidden apps. Finally, she set the phone down, conflicted. Everything Nathan had said checked out. The evidence supported his story. But the hurt and suspicion lingered. I want to believe you, she said slowly. But you lied to me, Nathan. Multiple times. You created fake emails. You let me think I was crazy for suspecting something. Even if your explanation is true, the trust is broken. Nathan nodded, his expression somber. I know. And I'll spend the rest of our lives rebuilding that trust, if you'll let me. His eyes dropped to her still flat stomach. I want to be there for you and our baby. I want us to be a family. Olivia felt tears threatening. I need time. This isn't something I can just get over immediately. Take all the time you need, Nathan said. I'll wait. I'll prove to you every day that you can trust me again. Olivia stood up, gathering her purse. I'm staying with Emma for now. I'll call you. Nathan rose too, uncertainty and hope warring in his eyes. I love you, Olivia. Both of you. She nodded once, not trusting herself to speak, and walked away. 2 days later, Olivia sat in her OB/GYN's waiting room for her first prenatal appointment. She'd debated whether to invite Nathan, ultimately deciding against it. She needed this moment for herself, needed to connect with this new life growing inside her without the shadow of betrayal and doubt hanging over them. Olivia Morgan? The nurse called, and Olivia followed her to an exam room, her heart racing with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. Dr. Reynolds? A kind-faced woman in her 50s who had been Olivia's doctor for years, entered with a warm smile. "Olivia? I understand congratulations are in order." The next hour passed in a blur of information, examinations, and questions. Olivia listened intently as Dr. Reynolds explained what to expect in the coming months, the tests they'd run, the changes her body would undergo. "Based on your last period, you're about 7 weeks along," Dr. Reynolds concluded. "Would you like to see your baby?" Olivia nodded, tears springing to her eyes. The doctor performed a transvaginal ultrasound, pointing to a tiny flicker on the screen. "There's the heartbeat. Strong and steady, just what we want to see." Staring at that tiny pulsing light, evidence of the life she was creating, Olivia felt a surge of love and protectiveness unlike anything she'd ever experienced. Whatever happened with Nathan, this baby was real. Her child. "Would you like a printed image to take home?" Dr. Reynolds asked. "Yes," Olivia answered without hesitation. "2, actually. One for her, and one for Nathan, regardless of what the future held for them." As Olivia left the clinic, ultrasound images tucked safely in her purse, her phone rang. The caller ID showed it was Emma. "How was the appointment?" her sister asked when Olivia answered. "Amazing," Olivia replied, unable to keep the emotion from her voice. "I saw the heartbeat, Em. It's real." "Of course it's real, goofball," Emma said with affectionate teasing. "The morning sickness and exhaustion weren't just for fun," Olivia laughed, feeling lighter than she had in days. "I know, but seeing it made everything different somehow." "Did you tell Nathan about the appointment?" Olivia's mood sobered. "No, I needed to do this by myself." "I get that," Emma said. "But listen, there's something you should know. A woman came by the apartment looking for you about an hour ago. Said her name was Vanessa Clark." Olivia stopped walking, her pulse quickening. "The lawyer? What did she want?" "She wouldn't tell me specifically. Said it was confidential client information that she could only share with you. But she left her card and asked you to call her as soon as possible." "Did she seem, I don't know, nervous? Guilty? Like someone who might be having an affair?" Emma snorted. "Hardly. She was the most professional, put-together woman I've ever met. Like a female version of Miranda Priestley, but less mean. Look, I know you're suspicious, but if that woman is having an affair with Nathan, I'll eat my entire succulent collection." "Keep your plants safe," Olivia murmured. "I'll call her." After ending the call with Emma, Olivia dialed the number on Vanessa Clark's business card. "Clark Family Law. This is Vanessa." The voice was crisp, authoritative. "This is Olivia Morgan. You were looking for me?" "Ah, Mrs. Morgan, thank you for returning my call. I apologize for the unexpected visit to your sister's apartment, but I've been trying to reach you regarding a sensitive matter related to Marcus Wilson's divorce proceedings." "I'm listening," Olivia said, her suspicion not fully abated. "I understand there's been some confusion about my meetings with your husband," Vanessa continued. "Marcus has authorized me to share certain details with you, given the circumstances. Would you be available to meet in person? Some of this information is best not discussed over the phone." Olivia hesitated, then made a decision. "I can meet you at your office in an hour." "Perfect. I'll clear my schedule." Vanessa Clark's law office occupied the 10th floor of a sleek downtown building with views of Boston Harbor. The reception area was tastefully decorated in shades of gray and blue, exuding quiet confidence and professionalism. Olivia was led immediately to Vanessa's office, where the attorney rose from behind a large desk to greet her. In her mid-40s, Vanessa had the kind of presence that commanded a room, tall, impeccably dressed in a navy suit, with sharp features softened by intelligent eyes. "Mrs. Morgan, thank you for coming," she said, extending her hand. Please have a seat. As Olivia sat in one of the leather chairs facing the desk, she caught a whiff of Vanessa's perfume, the same scent that had been on the bakery bag. The confirmation sent a chill through her. I understand you have questions about my interactions with your husband, Vanessa began, getting straight to the point. Yes, Olivia said, meeting the other woman's gaze directly. Nathan claims he met with you regarding Marcus Wilson's divorce. But there are inconsistencies in his story, Vanessa nodded. I'm sure there are, given the nature of the situation. To be clear, Nathan has been consulting with me on behalf of Marcus. That part is absolutely true. However, there's more to it than a simple divorce case. She opened a file on her desk. Marcus's wife, Jenna, has made some troubling accusations. She's claiming Marcus was financially controlling and emotionally abusive. These claims are leverage in their custody dispute. And Nathan is involved because, Olivia prompted, because Marcus asked him to be a character witness. But more importantly, because your husband has been helping Marcus gather evidence to disprove these allegations, bank statements showing Jenna had full access to their finances, text messages demonstrating a normal, healthy relationship. Vanessa leaned forward. The reason for the secrecy, Mrs. Morgan, is that Jenna works for a competitor of your husband's firm. If word got out that Nathan was helping Marcus build a case against her, it could create professional complications for both men. I see, Olivia said slowly. But that still doesn't explain why Nathan created fake emails or why he couldn't just tell me the truth. The fake emails were indeed a poor decision, Vanessa acknowledged. But as for not telling you, she hesitated. There's something else you should know. Something that might explain Nathan's reluctance to involve you. Olivia tensed. What is it? In the course of helping Marcus, Nathan discovered some concerning patterns in Jenna's behavior. Patterns that reminded him of his first marriage. Olivia blinked in surprise. His first marriage? Nathan's never been married before me. Vanessa's expression shifted to one of genuine shock. He never told you about Elise? Elise? Olivia repeated, feeling as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. Who is Elise? Vanessa closed the file slowly. I think I've said too much. This is clearly a conversation you need to have with your husband. No, Olivia said firmly, her heart pounding. You can't drop something like that and then refuse to explain. Who is Elise and what does she have to do with Nathan? Vanessa studied her for a long moment, then sighed. Elise Martin was Nathan's wife before you. They were married for 3 years, ending about a year before he met you. It was not a happy marriage, from what I understand. There were similarities to Marcus's situation, accusations, manipulation, control. Olivia felt dizzy. That's impossible. Nathan would have told me if he'd been married before. We've been together for 10 years, married for 8. The divorce was finalized 9 years ago, Vanessa said gently. I know because I was Elise's attorney. That's actually how I met Nathan. And why, when Marcus needed a divorce lawyer who understood complex, high-conflict situations, Nathan thought of me. Olivia shook her head, trying to process this bombshell. You're telling me that my husband was previously married, got divorced, and never once mentioned it to me in 10 years together? That's insane. I can't speak to why Nathan kept this from you, Vanessa said. But I can tell you that his experience with Elise was traumatic. Many people who've been through abusive relationships struggle to speak about them afterward. Abusive? Olivia echoed, the word landing like a physical blow. Emotionally, primarily, Vanessa clarified. Though there were allegations of physical incidents as well. Elise was, let's just say she was a master at making private problems public in ways that maximized damage to Nathan's reputation and relationships. When the divorce was finalized, she was under a restraining order. Olivia's mind raced, recalibrating everything she thought she knew about her husband. So you're telling me that Nathan's been helping Marcus because he sees parallels to his own first marriage? And he kept it secret from me because he never told you about Elise, Vanessa finished. And explaining why he was so invested in helping Marcus would mean revealing that part of his past. A part he's clearly worked hard to leave behind. Olivia stood up suddenly. I need to go. I need to talk to Nathan. Of course, Vanessa said, rising as well. But Mrs. Morgan? For what it's worth, in my professional opinion as someone who deals with liars and cheaters every day, your husband is neither. He's a man with a painful past trying to help a friend through a similar situation, while protecting you from memories he'd rather forget. Olivia nodded mechanically and left, her mind a chaotic swirl of emotions and questions. As she hailed a taxi outside the building, she pulled out her phone and texted Nathan, "We need to talk. Meet me at home in an hour." His reply came almost instantly, "I'll be there." The apartment felt different when Olivia entered, emptier somehow, despite nothing having been moved or changed. She walked through each room, seeing it with new eyes, wondering what else might be hidden beneath the surface of their seemingly perfect life. When Nathan arrived, he found her sitting on the couch in the living room, the ultrasound image on the coffee table in front of her. "Olivia," he said, his voice catching, his eyes fixed on the ultrasound. "You had an appointment." "I did," she confirmed, watching his reaction. "That's our baby. 7 weeks along. Strong heartbeat." Nathan moved closer, his expression a mix of awe and longing. "Can I?" Olivia nodded, and he picked up the image, studying it with such tender focus that her heart clenched. "It's amazing," he whispered. Then looking up at her, "I'm sorry I wasn't there." "I wasn't ready for you to be there," she replied honestly. "I'm still not sure I'm ready for you to be in my life at all, especially after what I learned today." Nathan tensed, setting the ultrasound down carefully. "What did you learn?" "I met with Vanessa Clark," Olivia said, watching his face. "Interesting woman. Impressive. She confirmed your story about helping Marcus with his divorce." Relief flickered across Nathan's features, but it was short-lived. "She also told me about Elise," Olivia continued, her voice hardening. "Your first wife. The one you never mentioned in 10 years together." All color drained from Nathan's face. He sank onto the opposite end of the couch, his shoulders slumping. "Olivia, Don't," she cut him off. "Don't make excuses. Don't tell me more lies. Just explain to me how you could keep something that huge from me for our entire relationship. Explain to me how I could be pregnant with your child without knowing you'd been married before." Nathan was silent for a long moment, his gaze fixed on his hands. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely above a whisper. "I was 24 when I met Elise, young, ambitious, thinking I had the world figured out. She was beautiful, charismatic, exciting. We got married after 6 months. It was intense from the beginning." He took a shaky breath. "Things started small. Criticisms about my clothes, my friends, my job. Checking my phone. Questioning where I'd been. Then came the accusations that I was flirting with waitresses, lying about working late, cheating with coworkers. None of it was true, but she was so convinced, so hurt by these imagined betrayals, that I started changing my behavior to avoid triggering her suspicions." Olivia listened, frozen, as Nathan described a relationship that spiraled from control to isolation to outright abuse. "The worst part wasn't the screaming or the throwing things or even the time she hit me with a lamp," he continued. "It was the public humiliation. She'd show up at my office, accuse me of affairs in front of my colleagues. She called my parents to tell them what a terrible husband I was. She told all our friends I was abusive, that I controlled the money, that I isolated her, everything she was doing to me. She accused me of doing to her." Nathan looked up, meeting Olivia's gaze for the first time. "When I finally left, she made my life hell. Stalking, harassment, false police reports. It took nearly a year and a restraining order to finally break free. By then, I'd lost friends, damaged my professional reputation, drained my savings on legal fees." "So you erased her," Olivia said. "Pretended that part of your life never happened." "Not at first," Nathan replied. "When I met you, I was still dealing with the aftermath. You remember how I was when we first started dating? Jumpy, paranoid about social media, weird about my phone." Olivia did remember. She'd attributed it to Nathan being naturally private, perhaps a bit old-fashioned about technology. I was going to tell you, he continued. After our third date, I decided the next time we met I'd explain everything. But then you told me about your ex, about how he'd lied about his past, how you could never trust someone who hid something major from you. Olivia winced at the memory. Her college boyfriend had failed to mention he was engaged to someone else, a fact she'd discovered after 6 months together. I panicked, Nathan admitted. I thought, if I tell her now, she'll think I'm just like him. So I decided to wait until we knew each other better, until you'd see I wasn't that kind of person. But the longer I waited, the harder it became to bring up. Then 1 year turned into 2, and we were talking about marriage. And I just couldn't find the right moment to say, by the way, I've been married before to someone who abused me, and I've been hiding it from you our entire relationship. So you just never told me, Olivia said, her voice flat. You married me, built a life with me, all while keeping this massive secret. Yes, Nathan acknowledged, shame evident in his voice. It was wrong. I know that. But Elise had already taken so much from me, my confidence, my trust, years of my life. I couldn't bear for her to ruin what we had too. And eventually, it was easier to pretend that part of my life had never happened. Until Marcus's situation brought it all back, Olivia surmised. Nathan nodded. When he started telling me what Jenna was doing, the accusations, the manipulation, using the children as leverage, it was like looking in a mirror. I couldn't just stand by and watch it happen to someone else. So the secrecy, the fake emails, the elaborate cover story, it was all to keep me from finding out about Elise? Olivia asked, trying to make sense of it all. I told myself I was protecting Marcus's privacy, Nathan said. But yes, deep down, I knew if I explained why I was so invested in his case, I'd have to tell you about my past. And I was terrified of how you'd react. Terrified you'd leave me for lying all these years? Olivia closed her eyes, overwhelmed. You created a situation where I thought you were cheating, rather than tell me the truth about your first marriage. Do you realize how absurd that is? I do now, Nathan said quietly. When you confronted me that night, I panicked. All I could think was that I was losing you, that my worst fear was coming true. I made everything worse by continuing to lie, by deflecting, by getting defensive. He moved closer on the couch, still keeping some distance between them. I never meant to hurt you, Olivia. Everything else about our relationship has been real. My love for you is real. My excitement about our baby is real. Olivia opened her eyes, studying the man she'd thought she knew completely. I believe you weren't having an affair, she said finally. But you've been lying to me for 10 years, Nathan. How can I trust anything you say now? I don't know, he admitted, his voice breaking. I don't have an easy answer for that. All I can say is that there are no more secrets. You know everything now, the good and the bad, the past I've been running from, the mistakes I've made. And I'll spend every day for the rest of our lives proving that you can trust me again? If you'll give me that chance. Olivia looked down at the ultrasound image on the table, at the tiny flicker of life that had already changed her forever. I don't know if I can, she whispered. I don't know if we can come back from this. Nathan nodded, tears filling his eyes. I understand, but I'm not giving up on us, Olivia. On our family. Whatever it takes, therapy, time, complete transparency, I'll do it. Because I can't imagine my life without you and our child. He stood up slowly. I'll give you space to think. I can stay at a hotel until you decide what you want to do. Just, please consider that people can make terrible mistakes for complicated reasons, and that I've never stopped loving you, not for a single moment since we met. As he moved toward the door, Olivia found herself speaking. Wait! Nathan turned, hope flaring in his eyes. I'm not saying I forgive you, Olivia clarified. I'm not saying we're okay, but I am pregnant with your child, and we need to figure this out one way or another. So yes, we'll try therapy. We'll talk. We'll see if there's anything left to save. That's all I'm asking for, Nathan said, his voice thick with emotion. A chance to make things right. Olivia nodded once, then looked away. You should go now. I need time to process all of this. After Nathan left, Olivia remained on the couch, one hand resting on her stomach, the other holding the ultrasound image. The future she'd imagined had shattered, but perhaps from the pieces, they could build something new, something imperfect but honest, something strong enough to withstand the weight of the past and the uncertainty of what lay ahead. Only time would tell if the betrayal of trust could be overcome, if love could survive such a profound deception. But for now, for the tiny life depending on her, Olivia would try.
And that wraps up today's story. Now we want to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments, and let's see how far these stories reach. If this story moved you or gave you chills, give it a like, share, and subscribe for more powerful stories. One last thing, rate the story from 1 to 10 in the comments. Your feedback helps us bring you even better ones next time. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being part of this storytelling journey.